Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So, welcome to our daily Nittam Bhagavad Sevaya thoughts. So, we are continuously reading Srimad Bhagavatam, fourth canto, right? Fourth canto, chapter 8, from Maharaj leaves home for the forest. So, we'll reading. So, before reading, we'll recite Mangalachar. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। मुखं करोति वाचालं पुंसं लम्भायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरं तत्सत्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिचारु स्वामिनिति नामिने श्रीयुतचेतसु प्रणीत भग्मिनां चरसाप्लुतं प्रभुपादगतौ प्राण नौमि भक्तिचारुपदम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तो स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। हरे कृष्णा। So, fourth canto, chapter slok 54. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mantre Mantre Nanena Mantre Nanena Devasya Purayat Dravyamai Buddha Sat Samparyam Vividhar Dravai Desakala Vibhagavi. Translation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is the 12th level mantra for worshipping Lord Krishna. One should install the physical forms of the Lord, and with the chanting of the mantra, one should offer flowers and fruits and other varieties of foodstuffs exactly according to the rules, regulations prescribed by authorities. But this should be done in consideration of place, time, and attendant conveniences and inconveniences. Purport. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudeva is known as the Dodakastara mantra, Dodasakara mantra. This mantra is chanted by Vaishnava devotees and it begins with Pranava or Omkara. There is an injunction that those who are not Brahmanas cannot pronounce the Pranava mantra. But Dhruva Maharaj was born a Kshatriya. He at once admitted before Narada Muni that as a Kshatriya he was unable to accept Narada's instruction of renunciation and mental equilibrium, which are the concern of a Brahmana. Still, although not a Brahmana but a Kshatriya, Dhruva was allowed, on the authority of Narada, to pronounce the Pranava Omkara. This is very significant. Especially in India, the caste Brahmana object greatly when persons from other castes who are not born in Brahmana families recite this Pranava mantra. But here is Tachit proof that if a person accepts the Vaishnava mantra or Vaishnava way of worshipping the deity, is allowed to chant the Pranava mantra. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord personally accepts that anyone, even one of a low species, can be elevated to the highest position and go back home, back to Godhead. Simply he worships properly. The prescribed rules, as stated here by Narada Muni, are that one who accepts the mantra to a bona fide spiritual master and hear the mantra in the right ear. Not only should one chant or murmur the mantra, but in front of him, he must have the deity or physical form of the Lord. Of course, when the Lord appears, it is no longer a physical form. For example, when an iron rod is made red hot in fire, it is no longer iron. It is fire. Similarly, when we make a form of the Lord, whether of wood or stone or metal or jewels or paint, or even a form within the mind, it is a bona fide spiritual transcendental form of the Lord. Not only must one receive the mantra from the bona fide spiritual master like Narada Muni or his representative in the disciplic succession, but one must chant the mantra, and not only must one chant, but he should also offer whatever good stuff is available in his part of the world according to the time and convenience. The method of worship, chanting the mantra and preparing the forms of the Lord is not stereotype, nor is it exactly the same everywhere. It is specifically mentioned in this verse that one should take consideration of the time, place, and available conveniences. Our Krishna consciousness movement is going on throughout the entire world, and we also install deities in different centers. Sometimes our Indian friends popped up with concocted notions, criticize this has not been done. This has not been done, but they forget this instruction of Narada Muni to one of the greatest Vaishnavas, Dhruva Maharaj. One has to consider the particular time, country, and conveniences. What is convenient in India may not be convenient in the Western countries. Those who are not actually in the line of acharyas or who personally have no knowledge of how to act in the role of acharya unnecessarily criticize the activities of the ISKCON movement in countries outside of India. The fact is that such critics cannot do anything personally to spread Krishna consciousness. If someone does go and preach, taking all risks and allowing all considerations for time and place, it might be that there are changes in the manner of worship. But that is not at all falsely according to Shastra. Srimad Viraraghav Acharya, and Acharya in the disciplic succession of the Ramanuja Sampradaya, has remarked in his commentary that Chandalas or conditioned souls who are born in lower than Sudra families can also be initiated according to circumstances. The formalities may be slightly changed here and there to make them Vaishnavas. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends that his name should be heard in every nook and corner of the world. How is this possible unless one preaches everywhere? The cult of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Bhagavad Dharma, and he especially recommends Krishna Katha or the cult of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. He recommends that every Indian considering this task to be para upakara or welfare activity. Take the Lord's message to other residents of the world. Other residents of the world does not refer only to those who are exactly like an Indian Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, or like the caste Brahmanas, who claim to be Brahmanas because they were born in the families of Brahmanas. The principle that only Indians and Hindus should be brought into the Vaishnava cult is a mistaken idea. There should be propaganda to bring everyone to the Vaishnava cult. The Krishna consciousness movement is meant for this purpose. There is no bar to propagating the Krishna consciousness movement, even among people who are born in Chandala, Mlecha, and Yavana families. Even in India, this point has been enunciated by Srila Sanatan Goswami in his book Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is Smriti, and is the authorized Vedic guide for Vaishnavas in their daily behavior. Sanatan Goswami says that as bell metal can turn to gold when mixed in mercury in a chemical process, so by the bona fide Diksha or initiation method, anyone can become a Vaishnava. One should take initiation from a bona fide spiritual master coming in the disciplic succession, who is authorized by his predecessor spiritual master. This is called Diksha Vidhana. Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, Vyapasritya, one should accept a spiritual master. By this process, the entire world can be converted to Krishna consciousness. Text 55. Salila Sochi Bhirmalyar Vanyarmula Faladivi Sastan Pura Mukash Charchet Rulasya Priyaya Prabhu. Translation. One should worship the Lord by offering pure water, pure flower garlands, fruits, flowers, and vegetables which are available in the forest, or by collecting newly grown grasses, small buds of flowers, or even the skins of trees, and if possible, by offering tulsi leaves, which are very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But it is specifically mentioned here in that tulsi leaves are very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and devotees should take particular care to have tulsi leaves in every temple and center of worship. In the Western countries, while engaged in propagating the Krishna consciousness movement, we were brought great unhappiness because we could not find tulsi leaves. Therefore, we are very much obliged to our disciple Srimati Govinda Dasi uh, mm, because he has taken much care to grow tulsi plants from seeds, and she has been successful by the grace of Krishna. Now, tulsi plants are growing in almost every center of our movement. Tulsi leaves are very important in the method of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this verse, the word Salilai means by the water, of course. Dhruva Maharaj was worshipping on the bank of the Yamuna. The Yamuna and the Ganges are sacred. And sometimes devotees in India insist that the deity must be worshipped with water of the Ganges or Yamuna. But here we understand there is a kala to mean according to the time and country. In the Western countries, there is no river Yamuna or Ganges. Water from such sacred rivers is not available. Does this mean that the Archa worship should for that reason be stopped? No. Salilai refers to any water, whatever is available, but it must be very clear and collected purely. That water can be used. The other paraphernalia, such as flower garlands, fruits, and vegetables, should be collected according to the country and according to their availability. Tulsi leaves are very important for satisfying the Lord. So, as far as possible, an arrangement should be made for growing tulsi leaves. Dhruva Maharaj was advised to worship the Lord with the fruits and flowers available in the forest. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna frankly says that he accepts vegetables, fruits, flowers, etc. One should not offer Lord Vasudev anything other than what is prescribed herein by the great authority Narad Muni. One cannot offer to the deity according to one's whims. Since these fruits and vegetables are available anywhere in the universe, we should observe this small point very attentively. Text 56. Labda dravaymayam archam Kishti amba adisu varchaye avrit tatma muni shanto yatavanita vanyahu. Translation: it is possible to worship a form of the Lord made of physical elements such as earth, water, pulp, wood, and metal. The forest one can make a form with no more than earth and water and worship him according to the above principles. A devotee who has full control over his self should be very sober and peaceful and must be satisfied simply with eating whatever fruits and vegetables are available in the forest. But it is essential for a devotee to worship the form of the Lord and not only meditate upon the form of the Lord within his mind with the chanting of the mantra given by the spiritual master. The worship of the form must be present. The impersonalist takes unnecessary trouble to meditate upon or worship something impersonal, and the path is very precarious. We are not advised to follow the impersonalist way to meditating on or worshipping the Lord. Dhruva Maharaj was advised to worship form made of earth and water because in the jungle, if it is not possible to have a form made of metal, wood or stone, the best process is to take earth mixed with water and make a form of the Lord and worship him. The devotee should not be anxious about cooking food. Whatever is available in the forest or in the city among the fruit and vegetable groups should be offered to the deity, and the devotee should be satisfied eating that. He should not be anxious to have a very palatable dishes. Of course, wherever it is possible, one should offer the deities the best foodstuffs prepared within the category of fruits and vegetables, cooked or uncooked. The important factor is that the devotee should be regulated mita bhuk. That is one of the good qualifications of a devotee. We should not hanker to satisfy the tongue with a particular kind of foodstuffs. He should be satisfied. Eat whatever prasada is available by the grace of God, Lord. Text 57. Swechavataracharitaye achintya nijamaya karishyati uttama slokas tadhyane tadhyayet Gridhayangamam. Translation, my dear Dhruva, besides worshipping the deity and chanting the mantra 3 times a day, you should meditate upon the transcendental activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his different incarnations, as exhibited by his supreme will and personal potencies. Purport: devotional service comprises 9 prescribed practices: hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, serving, offering everything to the deity, etc. Here, Dhruva Maharaj is advised not only to meditate on the form of the Lord, but to think of his transcendental pastimes in his different incarnations. Mayavadi philosophers take the incarnation of the Lord to be in the same category as the ordinary living entity. This is great mistake. The incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not forced to act by the material laws of nature. The word swecha is used here to indicate that he appears out of his supreme will. The conditioned soul is forced to accept a particular type of body according to his karma, given by the laws of material nature under the direction of the Supreme Lord. But when the Lord appears, he is not forced by the dictation of material nature. He appears as he likes by his own internal potency. That is the difference. The conditioned soul accept a particular type of body, such as the body of a hog, by his work and by the superior authority of material nature. But when Lord Krishna appears in the incarnation of a boar, he is not the same kind of hog as an ordinary animal. Krishna appears as Vara Avatara in an expansive feature which cannot be compared to an ordinary hog. His appearance and disappearance are inconceivable to us. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly said that he appears by his own internal potency for the protection of the devotees and the annihilation of the non-devotees. A devotee should always consider that Krishna does not appear as an ordinary human being or ordinary beast. His appearance as a Vara Murti or a horse or tortoise human exhibition of his internal potency. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavita Bhi Tavirja Rupa Upanija Kala Prayavi. One should not mistake the appearance of the Lord as a human being or a beast to be the same as the birth of an ordinary conditioned soul, who is forced to be appear by the laws of nature, whether as an animal, as a human being, or a as a demigod. This kind of thinking is offensive. Offensive. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has condemned the Mayavadis as offensive to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because they are thinking that the Lord and the conditioned living entities are one and the same. Narada advises Dhruva to meditate on the pastimes of the Lord, which is as good as the meditating or concentrating one's mind on the form of the Lord. As meditation on any form of the Lord is valuable, so is chanting of different names of the Lord, such as Hari, Govinda, and Narayana. But in this age, we are especially advised to chant the Hare Krishna mantra as enunciated in the Shastra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Text 58. परिचर्या भगवतो यवत्या पूर्वसेविता सामन्त्रा हृदयानेवा हृदन एनैवा प्रयुयन्मन्त्रमूर्तये. Translation: one should follow in the footsteps of precious devotees regarding how to worship the Supreme Lord with the prescribed paraphernalia, or one should offer worship within the heart by reciting the mantra to the personality of Godhead, who is not different from the mantra. But it is recommended here that even if one cannot arrange to worship the forms of the Lord with all recommended paraphernalia, one can simply think about the form of the Lord and mentally offer everything recommended in the Shastras, including flowers, chandan pulp, pencil, umbrella, fan, or and chamara. One can meditate upon offering and chant the 12 syllable mantra Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Since the mantra and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are non-different, one can worship the form of the Lord with the mantra in the absence of physical paraphernalia. The story of the Brahmana who worshipped the Lord within his mind, as related in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or the nectar of devotion, should be consulted in this connection. If paraphernalia is not present physically, one can think of the items and offer them to the deity by chanting the mantra, such as the liberal and potent facilities in the process of devotional service. So 59 to 60. Evam kaena manasa vachasa cha manogatam परिचर्याय मनो भगवान भक्तिमत परिचर्या पुंसाम अमयिनाम सम्यग भजताम भाववर्धना श्रेयो दिशाति अभिमातम यद्धर्मादिषु देहिनाम. Translation: anyone who thus engages in the devotional service of the Lord seriously and sincerely with his mind, words, and body, and who is fixed in the activities of the prescribed devotional methods, is blessed by the Lord according to his desire. If a devotee desires material religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, or liberation from the material world, is awarded these results. Purport: devotional service is so potent that one who renders devotional service can receive whatever he likes as a benediction from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The conditioned souls are very much attached to the material world, and thus the performing religious rites, they want the material benefits known as dharma and artha. Slok 61. Virakataschendriyarato bhakti yogena bhuyasa tam nirantara bhavena bhaje tadda vimuktaye. Translation: one, if one is very serious about liberation, he must stick to the process of transcendental loving service engaging 24 hours a day in the high stage of ecstasy, and he must certainly be aloof from all activities of sense gratification. But there are different stages of perfection according to the different person's objectives. Generally, people are karmis, for they engage in activities of sense gratification. Above the karmis are the jnanis who are trying to become liberated from material entanglement. Yogis are still more advanced because they meditate on the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and above all these are the devotees who simply engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. They are situated seriously on the topmost platform of ecstasy. Yeah, Dhruva Maharaj is advised that if he has no desire for sense gratification, then he should directly engage himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The path of apavarga, or liberation, begins from the stage called moksha. In this verse, the word vimuktaye for liberation is specially mentioned. If one wants to be happy within this material world, he may aspire to go to the different material planetary systems where there is a higher standard of sense gratification. But real moksha or liberation is performed without any such desire. This is explained in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by the term Anyavlyashita Sunyam. Without desire for material sense gratification, for persons who are still inclined to enjoy material life in different stages or on different planets, the stage of liberation in Bhakti Yoga is not recommended. Only persons who are completely free from the contamination of sense gratification can execute Bhakti Yoga or the process of devotional service very purely. The activities on the path of Apavarga up to the stages of Dharma, Artha, and Kama are meant for sense gratification. But when one comes to the stage of Moksha, the impersonalist liberation, practitioners wants to merge into the existence of the Supreme. But that is also sense gratification. When one goes above the stage of liberation, however, he at once becomes one of the associates of the Lord to render transcendental loving service. That is technically called vimukti. For this specific vimukti liberation, Narada Muni recommends that one directly engage himself in devotional service. Slok 62. Iti uktastam parikramya pranam maya cho nipavakha yayayu madhuvanam punyam harischarana charchitam. Translation: When Dhruva Maharaj, the son of king, was thus advised by the great sage Narada, he circumambulated Narada, his spiritual master, and offered him respectful obeisances. Then he started for Madhuvana, which is always imprinted with the lotus footprints of Lord Krishna, and which is therefore especially auspicious. Means auspicious. Slok 63. तपोवनं गते तस्मिन् तपोवनं गते तस्मिन् प्रविष्टो नतापुरम् हरितरः हानको रजना सुखसिना उवाच तम्. Translation: After Dhruva entered Madhuvana forest to execute devotional service, the great sage Narad thought it wise to go to the king to see how he was faring within the palace. When Narada Muni approached, the king received him properly, offering him due obeisances. After being seated comfortably, Narada began to speak. Text 2064. Narada Bacha. राजन् किं भयसे दीर्घं मुखेन परिशुष्यता किं वनाधीशयते कामो धर्मवर्ते न सम्मुता. Translation: The great sage Narada inquired, "My dear king, your face appears to be withering up, and you look like you have been thinking of something for a very long time. Why is that? Have you been hampered in following your path of religious rites, economic development, and sense gratification?" Purport: Four stages of advancement of human civilization are religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and for some, the stage of liberation. Narad Muni did not inquire from the king about his liberation, but only regarding the state of state management, which is meant for advancement of the three principles: religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification. Since those who engage in such activities are not interested in liberation, Narada did not inquire from the king about this. Liberation is meant for persons who have lost all interest in religious, ritualistic ceremonies, economic development, and sense gratification. So today we will stop here. So tomorrow we will continue from 65, slok number 65. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. जगत गुरु शिल प्रभुपाद की जय, पावन श्री गुरु महाराज की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव भक्तवृंद की जय। जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल।